If you can see our two faces or hear our voices, that can only mean one thing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for the worst 120 minutes in all of sports. That's right, it is the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. I'm Mike, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in all things podcasting, Stead. How goes it this rainy Monday evening?
Yeah, it's good. Going all right. Had a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit of that. And yeah, it's been pretty cool. Doing all right. Good weekend of footy, I can tell you that.
Well, we will definitely talk about that. There were some epic blowouts this weekend. One, yes, Manchester United lost to Liverpool at home 5-0, and it's the first time that they have lost by 5 or more goals and not scoring any at home since 1955. Ole continuing to take the team to places nobody ever has. But we learned on Saturday that a whole lot of fun could be had with 28 guys and 2 hookers. I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit and then tell you, no, it is not what you thought. Stead and I got together and went down and saw the rugby match between the U.S. Screaming Eagles and the All Blacks of New Zealand. It was close for about 32 seconds. And then they started the game. 104-14. So the good news is that the Screaming Eagles scored their first try ever against New Zealand. The bad news is it is their worst loss in any match to New Zealand. So,
yeah.
So, Stead, I got to get your feeling on this because we did that on Saturday and then Man United happens. So, bigger loss, bigger blowout, bigger disappointment. You may have heard me talking about this at halftime. I was talking to an English gentleman. And if London Sean is on this evening, I'm sure he'll chime in on this. West Indies, the much ballyhooed West Indies T20 cricket team, lost to England, and they only scored 55 runs in a T20 match, which is kind of in England beat them in 8.2 overs, which is kind of along the lines of getting housed 104-14 or 5-0 at home. Bigger blowout. West Indies losing to England, USA versus New Zealand, or Manchester United and Liverpool?
Well, not that I know too much about cricket, but did you see the I think it's Afghanistan versus Scotland game?
Yes, this morning, yeah. But that was
whoa.
Actually that was much closer than West Indies and England, right? West Indies are the 2-time defending champs. They have a lineup that boasts some of the best and most recognizable names in world T20 cricket. I'm talking about guys like Kieran Pollard, Chris Gale, Andre Russell, DJ Bravo. These are names that they play at the highest level worldwide. They're anchoring franchise T20 cricket squads in the Caribbean, in Australia during the Big Bash League, in the IPL, which is the biggest of the big franchise cricket leagues. These are key players. I mean, Kieran Pollard's been captaining Mumbai Indians, who are the most decorated squad in the IPL. So these are legit players, and they got made to look. Scotland did better against them, did better in their first match than the West Indies did. That was a monumental collapse when you consider what the lineup that they boasted and what we expected to see from them. It was massive. That's why you can put it in perspective. You can put it alongside of the maybe the U.S. wasn't all that big because New Zealand are the best team in the world, or certainly right up there, depending on world rankings and how they fare. I know that they didn't win the last Rugby World Cup. In fact, they haven't won in a few, which is kind of unusual for them.
I would have to. I mean, if it wasn't against Liverpool, then I would say Manchester United. If it wasn't against Liverpool, because I will say this on this show lately, I think probably due to the fact that our Liverpool correspondent lives in Hawaii and it's probably just now getting out of work. It's quite difficult for us to really, not difficult, no, we probably have been kind of running by Liverpool a little bit. You know, we've been talking a lot about, of course, the clubs that we support, but also we've been talking about the Chelsea and Man City after they've been, you know, dealing with the fact that that's the two finalists from the UEFA Champions League. You have also had the City being the defending league champion, and they're continuing to kind of roll. And you're looking at those two clubs as being the dominant clubs in the Premier League. Liverpool hasn't lost this year.
We have not given Liverpool enough due.
Yeah, and
we've been holding that. It feels weird to give that Liverpool spot has been so well occupied.
Yeah. I'm working on a guy. I've
got a guy too, but it just I felt awkward giving away that spot to anybody else, right? Because you know, British Will has been a mainstay of the show since we started.
Absolutely.
And it feels bad. It feels weird to be taught, but we really do need to have somebody on to talk about them.
Yeah.
But
like think about Liverpool though. They've scored more goals than anybody else this season. Mo Salah's sitting on 10 in 9, and you don't get the La Liga dominant scores in the Premier League. That just doesn't happen in the Premier League. He's sitting on 10, and even if you take away the 5 goals they scored against Manchester United, they're still sitting on 22 goals this year. So there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot there, and I think with Man United being, I don't want to say they're in a tailspin, but the fact that Man United has come back from behind quite a few times, there seems to be a lack of tactical understanding of what to do when the chips are down. Even with some of the great comeback wins they've had, losing 5-0 to Liverpool isn't really that shocking. And it's I mean, maybe that's not the right way to say it, but
it doesn't seem as surprising when you look at where the two teams are.
Exactly.
I think the biggest surprise.
So you probably have to go with the West Indies team.
I would, because of what the expectations. But the expectations for a Man United Liverpool match would be still that they would be competitive.
Right.
And we will talk with Matt, and I guess getting it out now gives him a little bit more time to talk when he gets on about it. It was clear from the outset that Ole fell into the same trap that he has fallen into pretty much for the last month and a half since Cristiano Ronaldo's turn, which is we want to play offensive-oriented football, but we don't actually have a system for playing offensively oriented football. And we have no sort of manner in which to defend. And their defending was atrocious because they were playing so far up the field thinking that they could attack Liverpool with a team that's not set up to attack because it's not arranged to attack. He has not set up a defensive system. And there's nothing wrong with your system taking a look at that team and saying, because we have Cristiano Ronaldo, we're not going to be able to high press. We're going to, like the 07, 08, 09 Manchester United teams did. We're going to defend. We're going to be organized. We're going to be compact. And we're going to defend within our own half. And then we're going to counterattack. Right? It is a team that seems to be built to counterattack. It is a team that Ole has had a great deal of success against teams like Liverpool
Mm-hmm.
and Manchester City
Mm-hmm.
and Chelsea,
Mm-hmm.
setting his team up to counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have a style of play, a system of play, and when I say a style of play, what I'm talking about is an arrangement whereby people move into space and the ball moves quickly. A lot of points have been made about the fact that the ball moves quicker than the man does, right?
Mm-hmm.
I liken it to the players on Manchester United looking like college quarterbacks when they first get to the NFL. They have to slow down,
Mm-hmm.
and they're used to throwing to the open man.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you see a Manchester United player in attack, they slow down because they have to look around to see where can I pass this ball to, because they don't have this intrinsic knowledge of where the next player is going to be, because it still remains a team of attacking individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Ole's tactic for a long time has been go out and do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt and I have said this for at least the last 2 seasons on the podcast, that they rely continuously on this individual moment of brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Cristiano Ronaldo step over wonder goal, the Bruno Fernandes pass, you know, Luke Shaw's cross, Cristiano, there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. There's no interchange. There's no, okay, you're going to pass the ball here. You're going to read where the defender is shading you. You have 2 options. You're going to choose, and then you move to the next spot. There's no systematic movement throughout the team that results in a goal being scored, like you see with Liverpool, like you see with Man City, like you're starting to see with Chelsea, like even Mikel Arteta has tried to do with Arsenal, with varying degrees of success, right? Now, if you're going to play a ground-based possession game, you need to be able to have that system of keeping and maintaining possession, because what inevitably happens is a team gets compact on Man United, like Liverpool did, forces them to play to the outside, and then they're basically playing in a horseshoe around this, from the halfway point to the edge of the 18-yard box.
Right.
They can't get any penetration in the middle. They have no idea defensively where anybody's supposed to be. That's why you see 2 England defenders running smack into each other.
Yeah.
Because they don't know where the other, and that is the mark of an underprepared team.
Yes.
And that was the most shocking thing about them, was how overwhelmed and underprepared they looked. And how overwhelmed and underprepared they have looked for pretty much every game that they have played since they played Newcastle after the right after the international break. So what would that be, like late September?
Right. Well, you talk about moments of brilliance, and you saw that in the Champions League game against Atalanta, where for 60 minutes, it looked like Atalanta was just a better team. I mean, just from a cohesion standpoint. And and they won based on exactly what you're talking about. They had individual moments of brilliance based on essentially a player saying, I'm going to take this spot over and doing it. And they were able to pull that win out. Is that great from a spectator standpoint as far as excitement of game is concerned? Absolutely. As a neutral who couldn't name 2 people on Atalanta's squad, that was an enjoyable game to watch. But you could see the cracks in the armor right there, where you're going, you only have so many times where you can pull a rabbit out of a hat if you want to truly be successful. It's not going to continue to happen. And you're right, under Ole, maybe I'm sure due to Ole's management style, it renders itself to that happening more often, but you're serving heart attacks up one after another and after another. And if that moment isn't going to happen because someone pulls a hamstring or takes a knock and just doesn't seem to have it that day, it doesn't bode well for a team to actually sustain long-term success for the grind of the seasons that it is, and that eventually runs out. It's like when you don't have the tactical prowess to work with what you have to be the most successful that you can be, and you're relying on individual skill, that rarely wins unless you, of course, just have a squad that just has the financial backing and the ability to have 15 guys that are just better than every other 15 group, top to bottom, in the rest of the league, a la Bayern Munich.
You've even said a couple of things. One, you said Atalanta looked like a better team from a cohesion standpoint, meaning they were more together.
They were more together. Yes, their passing was very crisp. Yeah,
and they were more organized. One of the reasons why Manchester United's passing has looked so poor is because they're not passed. They keep being forced into these passes. They keep having to take what the defense gives them, and the defense gives them exactly what they want to give them. I can't believe that the whole entire sum of that team can look so poor when individually, when you take them out, they look so much better. Now, I understand there are aberrations to it. Like Paul Pogba clearly has not fit, and he's had multiple managers to do it with. And I think that may be that situation where he can hold it together for the couple of games that he has to play in quick succession with France, but for the entirety of a season, he just can't recreate that. And the system that we have, like, there really isn't a system that we can develop that fits him in with the players that we have around him. And that's fine. Because he clearly has had moments, but that he has not started either of the last two games tells me that Ole sees him more as a liability than a solution, right? And the 15-minute red card did not help his argument.
It didn't. No, you have to. I kind of want to wait for Matt to get on before we delve into this a little bit deeper, but the displays of poor on-field behavior by too many of the Manchester United players was something that I found quite disturbing. I mean, having been supporter of a squad that's taken its fair share of L's in that manner the past few years, there still has to be a level of professionalism where you're not letting that frustration. And you could also see they weren't frustrated with Liverpool. They were frustrated. I'm not even sure how frustrated they were with each other. You could see it was just a general malaise and a general just like difficulty with the way they are moving forward. And when you don't have a clear direction and everyone's saying, no, we should go this way. No, we should go this way. No, we should go this way. That it's starting to bubble over, and it's very, very clear that all is not well at Old Trafford, and there needs to be I hate saying wholesale change or anything like that, but there needs to be some meeting at the table where it's if nothing else to get these players on the same page. I mean, you have two guys who've scored 4 goals apiece, yet it's still kind of shocking with the recent displays that you've seen. But, you know, can we have some fun and talk about the rugby game?
We'll get into that. I think you're right. But the fact that the frustration was boiling over, that was so evident that they felt the need to lash out, not necessarily out at Liverpool. They weren't mad at Liverpool. I think they were mad at the circumstance that they found themselves in.
Right, exactly. And that's where I was like, this isn't good.
But again, that boils over to the coach. You know, that type of performance would not happen under Sir Alex Ferguson, because you know that if that had been something like that had happened where they had taken a massive L, there would be an immediate and systematic response. And I think that they're looking for that response that they don't have to come up with. They're like, come on, dude, you need to give us something. You need to give us more to work with.
But you didn't see that. You didn't even see that under Van Gaal. You know, you didn't see that.
No,
You
you
just got you
saw.
just got a bunch of pissed off guys just running around. You didn't see that even under David Moyes. You didn't see that. Say what you want about Moyes. Moyes is going to command that respect, and you just didn't see that. So
I
that's why I
don't
was
think
like,
it's.
ooh,
I don't think it's a lack of respect.
yeah, fair enough. I
Insofar,
see what you mean. Yeah,
I don't think it's a lack of. Again, I don't think that he's lost the dressing room because they
I
don't
don't. I
like
don't
him.
really either. Yeah.
I don't think that he's lost the dressing room because they don't like his message. I think he's
Mhm.
lost it, and I think he's lost the respect because they don't believe that he has the ability to take them where they need to go.
Yeah.
Right? I think they like him as a person. And again, I've likened this locker room to a kindergarten class on a half day before vacation. Everybody's sitting around and happy and holding hands and singing kumbaya, but not much is actually getting accomplished. All right, so everybody's doing what they need to do, and everybody's harmonious. But just because everybody's harmonious doesn't mean that everything's at forward progress is
Right.
is being made. You can be running around in circles, and all you're doing is running around in circles.
Right.
We don't know where we're going, but we're making time.
Right.
So, moving on, though, yes, that was back to the rugby game. That was one of the more enjoyable sporting experiences that I've had live. I've watched my fair share of rugby on TV and felt as though the game did not translate the same on television that it did in the stands, where you could see the way the patterns of play started to develop. Now, I question what we would have seen had we seen two more evenly matched teams. Because remember, some of those when you get a Scotland, Wales, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand, these games can be like 6-3.
Oh yeah.
And all it comes down to is a slugfest that gets bogged. And that's one of the biggest criticisms of 15-man rugby is that too often it can be just too much of this.
It's a war of attrition. Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't see what we saw. And talk about unorganized defending. The Matador defense by the U.S.
That's a great description. Yeah.
I mean, I think it was made more fun because you saw firsthand the true nature of the athletic, just the speed, the decision making, the quick passing. New Zealand rugby really, really put on a show. And I don't blame them for I don't feel like they disrespected the U.S.
Not at all.
Running up the score. I don't feel like they did anything wrong by doing what they did. They showed who they were. And they came here, and there were a lot of New Zealand expats and New Zealand fans for whom this is probably their only chance to see them live. Talking to a guy who flew in all the way from Idaho to watch this game.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. And when you going out that this is probably the only time that they will ever get to see you live, I'm happy that they saw them do that. Those fans saw them do what they do when they do it well.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Well, you got to look. It's Dream Team 92 with basketball, where you had the opposing teams who were getting blown out, and they're the experience was something that it's like, this is something special here. And just from the standpoint of the game, as someone who's not necessarily new to the game, but never quite grasped tactically or conceptually how it worked, seeing it done by a squad that clearly is at the top of the heap and top of the game made so much more sense now. And it's one of the, if you're interested in rugby, I can't recommend enough. You have to go see it played live, because then tactically the game makes more sense. The way you can see the penalties a bit closer. You can see more fluidity of the of not just the passing, but also where the players are standing when they don't have the ball or they're in the scrum. Because 30 guys on a field, that's a lot of guys on a field. It's a lot. And that was definitely one of the more enjoyable experiences I've ever had. And I think it was very wise for New Zealand to play the way they did and to keep playing. Don't stop playing. People paid, even people with US rugby jerseys. I was trying to get one for myself, but we all know what we were going to see. We're all going to see a show. And the worst thing they could have done was, they scored 59 points in the first half, was to simply say, okay, we're just going to pack it in. That would have been terrible. There's all kinds of people who paid significant amounts of money to see a game played at the highest level. And so I applaud New Zealand for continuing to play and play and play and play. And look, US, they knew they were going to get stomped, but that's okay. They competed and they went out there and they got bloody and they got sweaty and they tried and tried and tried. That's the only way you're going to grow that game. I thought it was the best thing to do was to come to an area that actually has a relative rugby interest. It's here. There's interest here in the match. There's interest here in the game. And you saw that there were lots of people there that were kind of like us who may not have played it or followed it or anything like that, who are interested and want to learn more and are fascinated by the game. And, I was speaking to people who'd flown down from Boston. And as you said, the guy from there's people from Chicago that had come to watch the game. We saw those guys with the Kenya rugby jerseys on. So, I thought that was really important. I really, really hope that USA Rugby continues to do this because that's how you grow the game. That was fun. That was fun. And you and I even said, if it's a half day's drive, I'm going. I'm going.
So it was called the 1874 Cup, which supposedly was the year that the first competitive rugby match was played here in the States. And it seems like USA Rugby is making a concerted effort during these fall tours, right? Which the autumn test season is a thing. It's when the big teams, especially the South American teams, that really don't travel outside of South America all that often. It's one of the times that you can get them over here. Now, typically New Zealand's come here and played somebody like Ireland. And they've typically done it in the middle of the country. I can't say that I'd fly out to Vegas.
No.
Like, I know, for example, I believe Ireland's playing in Vegas, right? I know it's possible, it's doable, but then when I think about doing it, it's like, 3-day weekend. Yeah. But I hope that the plan is to continue to do this and to add another game to the schedule where we have that and we can do it here. Would I like to see them do it in a venue other than FedEx? Any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
I can't say there's any venue where I would prefer to watch it at FedEx.
That has more to do with FedEx than it does.
They could have done this at Maryland's football stadium, University of Maryland. Yeah.
They could have done it at University of Maryland's stadium. They could have done it.
Probably better off doing it in Baltimore. I mean, that's a much better stadium experience.
You can't though, because Baltimore's turf.
Oh, their turf. Oh, yeah, you can't.
And I don't know how they. No, I recognize. I just said that they would play in the Death Star out in Las Vegas, and I am aware that is turf. I don't know though about field conditions, and that's up to the visiting team. So insofar as like they have to be willing to be able to do that, New Zealand may say we're not going to play on field turf. You also have to remember you have to schedule around a game,
NFL season,
an NFL game, because there was no way that they were going to. I guess they could have gotten that field back in shape for a Washington football team game the following day, but it helped that
they were on the road. Yeah,
they were up in. And it makes sense to play it here in the nation's capital and to do that sort of stuff. I think it was a good move. If they did it up in Philly, I would definitely go.
Yeah, I'd go to Philly.
If they, I don't think Pittsburgh's a big enough city.
No.
But if they did it in Pittsburgh, I would go.
I would go. Yeah.
We mentioned our willingness to possibly fly out to Chicago, although getting down to Soldier Field, as I recall, can be a bit of a trip. And Soldier Field ain't actually as big as people think it is.
Yeah.
But it is the stadium in Chicago. I just don't know about flying out to the West Coast or to Las Vegas for it, or maybe. I don't think they would do it in Jerry World, but that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, he would. I think he would. You don't think Jera? I think Jera would.
I'm not sure how rugby would play in Texas.
Yeah, I'm not either, but I'd go.
Might be a good excuse. You know what would be fun? You know where they could do it? And it would be fun if they can fit the field.
Where?
Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can fit the field in there.
Yeah.
But man, would it be fun to go up to New York and see it at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be an experience and a half right there. That'd be cool. But I can say that though, I will give USA Rugby their props. I thought that game was a resounding success, and they were very wise to have that there. I was maybe not the most pleased when it came to the ticket prices, but as soon as I walked in the door, I was like, no, this is okay. I'm willing to do this because this isn't something that we get to see very often. And I want to make sure that the organizations are able to get the capital they need to hopefully spark the interest to do this again. Because I thought it was a success. People, look, top to bottom, we walked out of there. Everyone was smiling.
Everybody was smiling.
Everyone was smiling.
I would pay exactly that amount of money. If not just a smidge more. But we did. I think we underestimated how good our seats were.
Yeah.
I mean, we
we were right there. I mean, that we couldn't have had better seats. Yeah.
We were midfield right in the club level. So that was, of all the places where we could have been, given the amenities that were in that level that we were at, combined with the seats.
Right.
The location.
50-yard line, or
55-yard line. Let's call it midfield.
Midfield, yeah.
I was thoroughly pleased. I would totally, you were spot on with those. I know you thought that you were in the upper bowl.
Yeah, I misread because I thought it was 200, but I was like, oh no, I'm right. But also, not sure if they're listening, but the guys that we hung out with during halftime, they said they were going to check out the Too Many Guys soccer show. So giving you guys a shout out. Hope you're well. It's great to meet you.
Yes, good to meet you guys. Hope you're listening. It was great hanging out with you. And
so Too Many Guys soccer people, go check out some rugby because hopefully you're still listening to us in 2023 because we're going to be talking the next Rugby World Cup.
Talk the last rugby.
Talk the last one, big time, and talk Six Nations. So
we will talk the Six Nations. We already made plans to go out for Ireland, Scotland during the Six Nations, which happens to be on a good Saturday at a good time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
You know what? It gives me this was kind of cathartic. It gave me something pleasurable to talk about.
Yeah.
I could even go on for another 20 minutes.
I could too.
About India beating Pakistan, or Pakistan beating India for the first time in 13 tries in a World Cup tournament. Pakistan cricket beat India. So that was a big one. Big shouts out to the Pakistani team who got jobbed by everybody this summer. Everybody scored. No team traveled more last year in bubbles than Pakistan cricket did. And then when it was their time to host everybody canceled on them for one reason or another. I mean, no, it was kind of ridiculous.
It's sad.
Everybody's canceled. Everybody scheduled them to come to save their summers, but when it came time to do the bilateral and go home, it's like the college teams. when you schedule the team to come on the road, and then when it's your time to go to their stadium, you know what? I don't think the weather's good this time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get away from sports that aren't football and talk about actual football. And bring
no more
on...
Squid Game? You want to talk Squid Game?
No more Squid Game. No more cricket. No more rugby. Although that rugby match was fantastic. We spent most of the first part segment of the show talking about it.
The 56 you have behind you remind me of number 456 from Squid Game. That's why I said Squid Game.
It's in my queue. It's in my queue. I'll get to it eventually.
You gotta check it out. It is pretty. I tell you what, it's real quick, just for anybody who's listening and doesn't know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like a live action anime. In fact, that's how it's been described to me. Yeah, in fact, I've been told that if I enjoyed Squid Game, I would enjoy watching anime because a lot of anime is just like Squid Game. And I'm like, that's great. It's a cartoon. I don't want to watch cartoons. So
unless it's Archer, I'm with you.
Well, Archer's in my queue. The wife doesn't like Archer, so I got to watch when she's not around. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I was giving credit to Babar Azam, the captain of Pakistan, who led his team to victory over India for the first time in 13 attempts.
Okay, well, there you go.
So, first and foremost, where's Gato this evening?
Gato's over here at my feet, and let me see if she'll come up here. Come on. There she is. Whoa, you there? Okay. There you go.
Okay, because it's always more entertaining when Gato just joins us and sits there.
And she keeps trying to get me to pet her. You see this? She grabs my hand. She'll grab my hand. So I just start petting her. I'll move away and she'll grab. Or sneeze on me. That's even better. So.
More than anything else, because you've got your Real Madrid shirt on today, let's talk about the other rivalry game.
Los, clasico.
If this wasn't the most overlooked, underhyped clasico in a generation, I mean,
unless you live in Madrid and Barcelona, you probably didn't give two flips about it. But it's still a clasico. It's still one of the biggest games of the year.
And I know it was really the first time that I saw adverts for it that did not feature the players, where they put more emphasis on the teams, because, not for nothing, these are two somewhat underwhelming versions of these two historic clubs.
That's fair.
Madrid is having a decent season, but they also lost to Espanyol and got beat by FC Sheriff. And we all know what's going on with the situation at the Camp Nou.
Do we know? Do they know what's going on? Because it's pretty bad.
I should have asked Stead who needs to be more scared right now, Barcelona or Manchester United, because if you read
that's a great question.
Yeah, if you read the coverage, it's almost an exact mirror, one for the other, where I think Ronald Koeman gets a little bit more forgiveness for the lack of players that he has on his team, but there's also still a sense that tactically he has no idea what he's doing. So Real Madrid get the 2-1 win. Looks like a game that they pretty well controlled from start to finish.
Well, you would think so, but I mean, Barcelona actually had the better of possession for much of the first half and had the better of the attack. It just so happens on the counter is how Real Madrid got their first goal. It was against the run of play. You have David Alaba in the back from this penalty spot, moves up to the top of his box, takes the ball away, passes the ball over to the Vinicius Jr. on the wing, and then keeps sprinting upfield. And Vinicius passes the ball over to Rodrigo, who's open on the right wing. Rodrigo then passes the ball back over to Alaba, who puts it in the, oh my God, it was such a strike. If you saw the replay, it was a hell of a strike.
And this is a couple of minutes after
after our guy missed a wide open shot. That was really sad to see. I mean, I was happy to see it, being a Madrid fan, but I was sad to see it because that's our guy. That's, one of the guys for the US. And if he had scored that would have done so much for his confidence in the world game. But he missed, and he missed badly. It was the only person who missed that badly in a game that was bigger than that was Roberto Baggio off the penalty spot in '94. So that's
but we always remember Serginho Dest is a defender for a reason.
Well, yeah, but they actually played him up front.
That's a pull. That's a long time ago.
But they played. I know they played him up front. If you looked at the alignment, they had Dest up on the right wing,
and Ansu Fati playing through the center.
Yes,
a lot of
he had a chance early on, but couldn't get a hold of it. But so they had their chances. Barcelona had their chances, So that first goal that was the goal that held up for most of the game. And then there was a couple of changes later on, Barcelona scored a second one. It was kind of more of a fluke goal. Shot was taken, deflected off. I can't remember the what's the guy's
Ter Stegen?
name? Ter Stegen. There he is. Yeah. I keep calling him Turducken, but it's Ter Stegen. But yeah, he made the save, and it fell right to the goal. I forgot who scored the goal, but it fell right to him, and he wanted it more than the defender was behind him. Got his foot in there, put it in the net. It is kind of a little sloppy goal. What was better was the Barcelona goal that came like about 2 minutes later, because that's our boy Serginho Dest on the wing, and he puts in this really nice cross that, of course, Sergio Aguero's there, and what does he do? He scores goals. Got a foot on it, put it in the net. It was great, but it was too much. It was too little, too late at that point, and a 2-1 final.
One of the questions about this is going to be why Koeman. He's lost. This is the third straight loss in a clasico, and whether or not he kind of overthought it a little bit by playing a lot of guys out of position, starting with, you move your typical starting right back to right wing, you move your right wing to striker, which means that you have to put in an untested right back in who was struggling at times to keep up with the Madrid counterattack. Sending PK up as a striker when you have Luc de Jong up there. That was at that point they're just tracing anything that they, that goes back to the long ball, which has never been real popular with Barcelona. It's a combination of the players and just some what I would classify as some odd decision making for Ronald Koeman, whereas Carlo Ancelotti, he kind of knows who he was going into that game with, and he played his guys, and they largely did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. Real Madrid has been faring a lot better, minus Cristiano Ronaldo, than Barcelona has minus Messi. They have a huge void, which was to be expected. He's one of the best ever, so it's kind of hard to replace him. So I haven't found an answer for that yet, but I'm sure they will. I don't know with what money, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. They're what, 8th or 9th in the table. They've got to. That's not a place where the fans want to see them. They don't. That's not why they come out to see Barcelona. They come out to see them up near the top of the table. First, second, third, or fourth place. That's what they're hoping. So, I just saw a note here from Byron Robb, who's in the wings here. When Alaba scores goals like that, those are called Alabooms. It was a hell of a goal. It was nice. And he got man of the match, from what I understand, when I was watching the game too. When you think about it, it was a hell of a play. The whole series, starting from the back and working way back up. Speaking of the second goal, by the way, Real Madrid, I did not mention this, but that was also after against the run of play, if you will. It was Barcelona was attacking the goal, and a lot of stuff was happening. And PK went down looking for a PK, and the PK never happened. And the ball went back up the other end of the field, and that's when Barcelona Real Madrid got their second goal.
Yeah, so I mean that was Lucas Vasquez in injury time, and then the uber late Aguero goal to make it 2-1.
Right. PK looking for a foul that didn't exist, which is, I guess, typical. That's what players do. They look for fouls that don't exist and hope the referee calls it.
So we'll get you out of here with this one, my dear friend. Well, two more questions. Right now, the La Liga table certainly makes for interesting reading. Like you said, Barcelona sitting down in ninth in real danger, I guess you could say, of missing out on European football for the first time since the 50s, probably.
Well, it's been a while, but let me say this: it's only 10 matches into the season. It's early. It's too early to say that they're out of it. And when you look at the total number of points they have 15 points, which only puts them 3 points out of being in the top four. So no, they're not out of it by any means. It's just kind of funny to see them down there in that spot. That's just kind of weird.
And again, Real Madrid has a game in hand, but Real Sociedad.
Well, they can't. Here's the thing: Barcelona and Real Madrid cannot hold all four of the top four places. They can only get two of those. So someone else is going to step up, and looks like right now this season it's Real Sociedad. Sevilla is always not perennially, but in the last few years they've been a contender. And Atletico Madrid is up there. Those are the guys that they've been playing well over the last several seasons. And I went in Zippo. You hear me?
I can hear you, but you're
okay.
frozen. You're frozen.
I froze. I don't know why I froze, but anyway.
Yeah, and the team's trailing Sevilla right now, Real Sociedad in Sevilla, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid all have a game in hand over them. So
yes, but like I said, it's early. You only got a few games into the season, maybe not even almost a third of the schedule. So we're almost we're not even halfway yet. There's plenty of soccer to play.
And the last question, I'll get you out with this one. How excited do you think that Uncle Nuno is to see Manchester United limp into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this week?
Well, I get there's two schools of thought there. One, you're looking at their chops because they're wounded, and Ole doesn't seem to know what he's doing, and they just lost 5-0 to Liverpool, so they're down, and maybe we can kick them while they're down. But the second school of thought is they just lost 5-0 to Liverpool, and they are embarrassed as hell and want to go ahead and make a statement in the next match. And guess what? We're the guys they want to make a statement with. So that's it's kind of a tenuous sort of situation there. I'm hopeful that Spurs can make it a good game. I remember what happened in our first match last year. I don't know. Do you recall the score there?
I believe it was 6-1.
I think it was 6-1 or something like that.
Yeah. I believe it was 6-1.
Yeah. So it's not like Manchester United doesn't give up a 5-goal game at some point or another during the season over the last couple. So I don't know if we can make it 2 in a row, but that seems highly unlikely. I think Manchester United is going to be a little bit miffed about what happened this weekend, and they're going to come out for blood, and we've got to be ready. Spurs has got to be ready. That's the thing. We just got to, and that's kind of a hard thing when it just seems like you have your problems with Ole, but we have our problems with Nuno because it just seems like he's struggling too to find his place in this world. And I'm not sure exactly what the answer is, or if he's going to find the answer. I'm hopeful he will. I'm hopefully take another look at these young guys he's got coming up through the academy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, my friend. Well, we'll get you back on next week to talk a little bit more La Liga and to talk a little and to recap the Spurs match and it's the end of the MLS season, Low. So we got to go in and talk a little bit of that. So busy week next Monday.
I'll be boning up on the MLS then too.
All right, my man. Talk to you.
Catch you guys. See you later.
And adios to Gato as well.
Hey, I said bye, Gato. I said bye. She don't care. See you guys later.
Take care.
All
So
right,
we are happy to welcome on our two good friends right now, Byron Robb waiting to make his entrance, and Celtic Cam. Oh, not Byron Robb today. It is Red Bull Robb.
Well, you said MLS, so here I am. I have an MLS shirt on. I'm going to the game. I didn't
say I just said MLS like 30 seconds ago. I definitely did not say anything about MLS coverage in pre-show because I didn't make up my mind to cover MLS stuff until I was talking to Stead earlier, and we pointed out the fact that next week is the 30th is and the 31st are the end of the MLS season. So next Monday we've got to do some playoff stuff. So I'm guessing you went and changed jerseys while you were radio silent.
No. I had this on the whole time. I'm excited to go to the Red Bulls DC United game at the field. So I'll be pumped. I'll probably lose my voice, so it should be exciting.
Yeah, there was another blowout this weekend. Red Bull DC United got housed up in
unbelievable. Well, no,
Yankee
believable.
Stadium.
I shouldn't say unbelievable. Believable.
Well, DC United got over their hoodoo against the Philadelphia Union and beat them for the first time in like 6,000 years. But they have yet to ever win in Yankee Stadium. And let's be honest, that's not unusual. It is one of the narrowest pitches in all of world football up there. So if you're used to playing with any sort of width, and you go into Yankee Stadium and you play NYCFC, that's why they've had such a defined home advantage when they've had the players, is because it's so hard to go up there and play. How much longer they are going to be able to get away with playing these games in Yankee Stadium and the nature of the field up there, how small it is, how narrow it is. I don't know. You know, that's just one of those things where I think MLS needs to kind of put their foot more on the throat of City and the Yankees and say, you know what, y'all really got to figure out this stadium thing. You really got to figure this one out because it's just, it's not working. It is not working. You never see any games outside of NYCFC games played there.
Having played in high school soccer in Eastern North Carolina, you were often crammed into places they didn't want you to mess up their football field. So having played competitive matches in essentially the outfield of a baseball field, it's first of all, even playing on a regular sized gridiron football field, you'll notice that the 18-yard box is about 3 feet from the touch from the end line. So having the fact that you have professional athletes playing on a pitch that size is actually quite laughable, and it's a shame that it's still it's a shame that it's still doing that. They have to. You're right. The MLS needs to say, look, no more. We can't do this anymore. This is bad for the product. It's bad for New York soccer. You have two teams because you have the capacity to support two teams in that city. Please do something. Go out to Hackensack, whatever. I mean, seriously, there's so many places you can go. You have to be Bronx.
So we're gonna have yet another set of New York teams that actually play in New Jersey.
Absolutely, you don't have to play in New York. Come on, you don't have to actually play there. Just make sure there's a metro. Make sure there's a stop. Yay, they're playing in Harrison.
Just like the Giants and the Jets.
Yeah, play in Meadowlands. Yeah, come on. At least the hockey team is like, no, we're this New Jersey Devils. We're good. We're playing in Newark. We're good.
So, Rob, some big news brewing in the Bundesliga over the last couple of hours. You want to start there?
Well, I guess the biggest news is there's the coaching change, but it looks like Erling Haaland is going to be out for the rest of the year. He'll be back probably sometime in January. and it is a terrible time to go to be losing him, because they still don't have Gio Reyna back either. I mean, we all thought he would be back by now, but still no Gio Reyna. And it's going to be up to Jude Bellingham, who had a marvelous goal this weekend, to really carry the squad, because Dortmund can't defend at all. They're terrible defending. And if you don't have two quality offensive players, especially Erling Haaland, you're not going to score anybody, which means you're going to drop points all over. So it's going to be it could be a quick free fall for Dortmund over the next 2 months or so. It is not looking good for Dortmund. I don't know what Marco Rosa, who's the first year manager over at Dortmund, is doing. I don't know what he can do. Marco Reus is actually doing really well, but they just need help everywhere. So without Erling Haaland, it's going to be a free fall for Dortmund. It's not looking good. And then the managerial change that happened, Wolfsburg just sacked first year manager Mark Van Bommel, and it was pretty quick. I was shocked how quick it was, because even though they haven't played well, I mean, usually you give like a manager like some time to figure it out, especially one who this is his first job. The player that's still trying to learn. He's still trying to learn a little bit, and to me, like, I don't know, maybe something happened that we're not seeing. I mean, the results are not there, but it's too early. To me, it's too early to sack him. So that's shocking news in itself. I think it broke Sunday, which to me tells me that potentially they might have someone in mind, but like, I think they're gonna roll with an assistant manager for a couple of weeks. So those are the two biggest stories.
Now, actually, hearing that he might be out of that, Holland might only be out until early 2022 is somewhat of actually good news, because I'm going to guess that there might have been something that got lost in translation, because the first message would be that the Ajax game might be his last for the season. I'm wondering if they meant the calendar, if they said the season or the year, saying that 21, meaning he'd be back in 22 as opposed to this season. It appears to be a hip injury. How might this affect his impending departure from Borussia Dortmund?
It won't. It won't, because simply put, he'll have a whole half season to go. He'll rake up the goals. He'll pile it on, and he's going to leave. Someone's going to pay still big money for him. He's young enough, and he'll recover quickly, and he will just be a stud wherever he goes. So now, what Dortmund really should do, if they were smart about this, is they should overpay for him, like re-sign him to a new contract, overpay for him. This way, maybe they keep another year, but it won't happen. Simply, the money's too good in the Premier League or La Liga, for all we know. But yeah, the Dortmund just can't compete, and so it's funny because Holland's priced out of all the Bundesliga clubs, especially Bayern. So at least Dortmund is gonna know that Bayern are not gonna get him. So they're probably relieved about that, and it probably saves them some embarrassment. But no, Haaland will be fine. He's going to leave on the release clause, and Dortmund will use that money to buy somebody else.
As far as Mark van Bommel getting the sack, certainly the results haven't been there necessarily in the last. Well, they haven't been there through most of the season, but you still see them sitting right now in 9th place, right? Most of those losses have come recently, but this is a team that about 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago was battling relegation for a large part of the season. And one of those teams that is corporately owned. How much of the Van Bommel situation might be that we've been there before? We've seen what's happened to the likes of Hertha Berlin and Schalke, especially Schalke. I'm sorry. We've seen what's happened to Schalke, and we know that we too went through this not too long ago, and we're just going to get somebody with a little bit more experience, or we're going to get somebody who we feel can get some results before this completely goes pear-shaped and we find ourselves drugged down into this relegation scrap.
Well, so Wolfsburg, made Europa League and then they made Champions League. So now this year they're playing the Champions League. So when Van Bommel was signed, I was kind of shocked because you're bringing in a first year manager to manage a squad who has not played Champions League in like who knows how long. And it's kind of a weird time to get to force the manager to get used to competition, especially the biggest competition, the club competition in the world, the Champions League. I thought they would have bring in somebody with a little bit more experience, at least at the very least coaching experience. And because of that, I think they're going to definitely revert back to somebody who's been there a while, not been there as far as in the coaching ranks. Is a Lucien Favre coming back? I don't know. Like he's an option. But like that's really about it. I mean, they're gonna have to really dig deep into the well to find an out of a job manager who has Bundesliga experience, who can rally the troops. They do have good players there, and he still got Champions League games to go. I think they had 3 matches left, and so it's in their group. They might be able to squeak it out to go at the very least to go to Europa and make it a competition there. So I'm puzzled as to what they'll do. But they need to do something quickly because it looks like, I mean, they have the talent just by themselves to be a mid-table team, but you need a manager that can take the squad full of some good players and bring them back to Europe and at least compete for a Europe spot. And I don't know where they will find it.
As we talk about managers, Lucien Favre coming back, I know that he's in the frame to take over at Newcastle too. Strangely, nobody's mentioned Yogi Love.
Well, I mean, look, it is COVID. He doesn't wash his hands all the time. He does things.
Yeah, I get that. I get that
Yeah.
part. But as far as some of the personal habits, I get. But do you find it the least bit surprising that like he doesn't seem to be in the frame for anything?
You know what? I think I think with him is that he's been gonna take it easy this year. I think he'll want to come into a job where he has like a full summer to get ready, a full camp to get going, and maybe he'll have his pick a job later on. And there's no guarantee that he's going to go to the Bundesliga. For all we know, he could go to La Liga, or some Premier League team could pick him up. Newcastle, maybe, I don't know. The Saudis might like the fact that he won a World Cup and think he could do it in a club game, which it probably doesn't translate all the time. So Yogi Love, I mean, no, I think he's just sitting it out right now. Like all he's been doing every week is going to a different Bundesliga match and just hanging out and enjoying the comforts of being just being without a job and enjoying and watching football, and then maybe he'll pick a spot later on.
Another week, another win for Bayern Munich. With you brought up the fact that Dortmund struggling with injuries. A lot of this is now going to fall on Jude Bellingham. The possibility that their title push is going to falter. As much as I love him, Jesse Marsch has struggled to get it going at RB Leipzig. Is the Bayern march to the 4,000th consecutive Bundesliga title now just fully underway, and it's inevitable?
Yeah, it is, because the biggest competition was Leverkusen, and Leverkusen showed us who they really were last week when they just got spanked. And now Dortmund's losing their best player, the guy who provides the goals. So they're not going to, really challenge anymore. Leipzig is trying to make Europa again, and everybody else is just not experienced enough to, to really take off points. I mean, and if you look at the table, you have Freiburg making some moves over there, and they haven't played Bayern, they haven't played Gladbach, they haven't played Leverkusen yet, but they're taking points on the road. They're actually winning some games and getting some draws on the road, which is helpful for them. But I expect them to free fall again after, there's no competition for Bayern this year. Leverkusen was supposed to be the one that was threatened, and they came away with a whimper. So it's another march to the title, another year where Bayern will probably host the Meisterschale, and Bayern will look to just use the Bundesliga as a way to warm up for Champions League.
All right, Rob. Well, we'll get you back next week to talk a little more Bundesliga and MLS. Make sure you enjoy your Red Bulls DC United game.
Peace out.
Two teams that I really, 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 I'm not sure how I feel about. And we're going to switch from one league that's dominated by one team to another league that's dominated by one team right now. And bring on our good friend Celtic Cam to talk about life in the land of enchantment that is Scotland.
How's it going, guys?
The SPF, the Scottish Premier League, continues to roll on. But strangely, while I was not paying attention, Celtic appears to have made up some points on the Huns and now only sit 4 back when it was 7. You said it. They could get back on a roll. They could get it. All it takes is a result here or there. Rangers should drop a couple of points to get a draw, and Celtic to pick up a win. Rangers to get that freak loss, and Celtic. I know that we're only 10 games into a very long season, but is this evidence that the title race that we all want may well and truly actually happen?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is actually going to be a really interesting season. As you say, we're only 10 games in, but we've got 4 teams at the top that are within 4 points of each other. And again, it is early, but, it's not the first 2, 3, 4, 5 games in. We're 10 games in now. We're almost a third of the way through the season. So, a lot of these teams have already played each other at least once. So I think we're going to have a very competitive kind of middle of the season. And I think we're really going to see things shake up. We've got Dundee United, for example, sitting 3rd right now, which, I think if anyone was at the bookies before the season, I don't think anyone would have seen 10 games in Dundee United sitting 3rd. So I think the top of the table right now is looking really interesting and going to make for some really competitive games, especially this week.
It all comes down to Europe for both Celtic and Rangers. And even the other teams, I think is it Hearts or Hibs that are also still in the Conference League?
I think it's Hibs that are still in it.
Both the Huns and Celtic, Celtic picking up that big win against Ferencváros last week. We talked about that briefly on Tuesday. Rangers getting I believe they got a win in their Europa Conference in their Europa League game. Both of them sitting in now with the chance of maybe not making it into the top 2 in the playoffs for the round of 16 in the Europa League, but with a pretty solid chance of making it, of surviving long enough to make the drop down to the Conference League and some continuation of European football in 2022. How much would it mean to Celtic to still be playing in Europe when the calendar changes?
I think it'd be a big deal. I think it'd be especially a big deal for Big Angie. It's his first time playing in Europe. He's got coaching experience, playing international, having, coached the Australian team. But I think, the style of play in Europe is much bigger than, Asia Pacific. It's a different style. So I think it's going to give him some really good experience if he can stay in till after Christmas. Again, even as you said, there's a good chance we drop down. But I think it's going to be really important, especially, not only for Angie, but also the new players that we have that maybe haven't played in Europe before. So I think it's kind of half a testing period, but also half a, we need to make it as far as we can for the cash.
And Celtic have a trip to Edinburgh to play Hibs on Wednesday. What should we look out for in that matchup?
Yeah, so it's one of a few really big matchups coming up. Celtic coming off a win against St Johnstone, Hibs coming off a loss against Aberdeen. So I think both teams have something to play for here. Hibs are only a point, I think it's 4 points behind Celtic. So a win there would push them back into contention for those top 3-4 places in the table. Celtic again trying to keep that run. They're only a point behind Dundee and Hearts at this point in time, so a win there would be really big. Put them in contention against Rangers, edge a little bit closer. So I think in the Celtic Hibs game, we're definitely after St Johnstone going to see some more Giacomakis playing this game. He started last game at St Johnstone. Beautiful volley goal, really, really nice goal. His first start at Celtic. So I think we're going to start to see Kyogo and Giamakis kind of pairing up in that front position and looking for what every Celtic fan wants is 2 up front finally.
They're 4-4-2 or something that looks like it. Give us another game that we should look for midweek or on the weekend.
Yeah, so another big one is going to be actually Motherwell St Mirren. So that's actually 6th and 7th playing. I think that's actually going to be a really interesting game. St Mirren coming off that loss against Rangers, even though they played really, really well. It was only a 2-1 loss. I think it was Connor Ronan with an absolute rocket from St Mirren. Absolutely amazing goal. There is definitely some quality there. And I to be honest, if I had to make a prediction, I think St Mirren's going to edge out Motherwell in this coming game. Just with how they played against Rangers. So I think that's the kind of other big game midweek here that I would watch, even though, it's only 6th and 7th. Third final game would be Rangers Aberdeen. Aberdeen is sitting 8th, Rangers are 1st. However, that game is always a big one. Aberdeen just beat Hibs. They're 3, places above them. Aberdeen can pull their weight in those big games. They always have done against Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, and Hibs. So I think those are the 3 games I'm going to be really keeping an eye on this midweek.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll get you back on in the next couple of weeks to give us more of the updates from the North.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Take care.
Have a good one.
And right on time, we bring in the other flaming hot, red Cheeto mad, disappointed, embarrassed, red-faced United fan. Yes.
That's me. That's me,
okay, there are flannel is back. And what's the other one?
It says night night Ole because I'm in my pajamas. That's what we're going for. All right, night night. Good night. We're dreaming of a new manager. I'm sorry, but that's the only thing we can do right now. So,
who needs to be more worried right now, Barcelona or Manchester United? And I'll put that out there to everybody.
In all actuality, and I do follow La Liga just because of the financial situation, like Barcelona, 100%. Manchester United's problem is just that their owners don't really care, and that we're just, but money wise, we're okay. We're riding debt, but it's if the Glazers really wanted to, they could pay it off. We could actually, we're not in serious financial issues. Barcelona did some really schemy stuff to hide the financial situations that they were already in, and then it's all kind of coming out, and they're an absolute mess. And their problem is I don't even think there's managers who really would want to come in there, just because they have a lot of young talent. We actually have the talent with us right now. That's why we should be better. That's why we're looking for a new manager, because we're not playing as good as we should be playing with the players that we have. I don't think Koeman is a great manager, but I don't think many managers could be doing better with what he has at his disposal. I think that they're in a mess. And I've said this for as long as people know me. As soon as Messi left, it was going to be like the Bulls when Jordan left. They are just absolute garbage compared to what they should be.
It was striking how similar the narrative from Barca with regards to Koeman and United with regards to Ole was this weekend. Mm-hmm. And the emphasis on the lack of tactical astuteness. I said my piece at the top of the show that, I don't understand how we can continue to come into these games so woefully underprepared, and the displays all around, both in terms of the playing display and then the repeated petulance of players that we depend on, is a sure sign that something is wrong and needs to get fixed. But the floor is yours, my friend. Here's your chance to unload.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not even unload. It's like I'm kind of even going out just with a whimper because I'll be the first person to hold my hand up and say, I really did believe in it. I really believed in the project. I believed in Ole. I believed in what he was doing. They got me, hook, line, and sinker. And so, yeah, I'm like mad. I'm upset, but because of like how we lost. But there are a lot of people who said like, oh, we could see this coming. If you were a United fan and you legitimately thought that we would lose 5-0 at home and 4-0 at halftime at home to Liverpool, like, I don't know. I would have called you a little crazy. Like if we had lost 3-0 and we're completely outplayed, I think I would still be just as, I'd be Ole out. I'm just embarrassed. I'm not like, Will take off my shirt. I'm pissed off right now. I'm more just like, it's just becoming a repetitive thing. The people that felt that Ole had a ceiling and was reaching it were completely right. I was, again, as being like a coach and being a part of like a college program and all that, I do see like the differences between what is portrayed externally and what actually goes on internally. And I just felt that what I could see what Ole was doing internally I was hoping that it was going to start translating to, on the field more consistently. But I think you're right. Like you called them petulant. There's just players that are just at the end of the day, they're just like not, unless they have someone really riding their backs, like they're just going to kind of think about the YouTube highlight reel style plays. And they're just going to not really.
I think that's what they have. I have yet to see any sort of evidence of a system of play.
Yeah.
And when you have no system of play, when you have no direction, when you rely solely on people's individual moment of brilliance to make stuff happen, yes, you get games like you do in the Champions League against Atalanta, but those are fewer and further between. That is not a sustainable model. And I think we've seen that the idea, I think there was some tactical discussion insofar as we want to go out, we want to play on the front foot, we want to attack, we don't want to sit back and defend and try and play on the counterattack. The problem is now you actually have a team that you need to do that with. And accepting that maybe defending in their half like the 07 through 09 team did, because you can't high press and that you don't have players who are going to defend up and down the field, but maintaining some sort of organization and then unleashing a rapid counterattack that can take advantage of the quick ball movement, because that's the only time they move the ball quickly. And the pace would be an actual way to play these games. But I also recognize that, it doesn't always work when we're trying to break down teams that are going to come in and defend. But the book is clog the middle, stay organized, force them to the outside, force them to play through the middle. They don't have a way to do it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I'm pissed, like royally pissed. Like I'm really upset. Like especially just how the basic mistakes that these players are making. It's like I understand you not understanding, some of the tactical aspects, but it's just like, guys, are you kidding me? Like that first goal was just it was atrocious.
What tactic was there when Luke Shaw is running into Harry Maguire? But that's not a tactic. That's telling me that tactics. But that's telling me that they don't know where the other one is supposed to be.
Yeah, see, I don't even think that comes down to tactics. It's like when you play at a high level, it's basic instinct, like that you need to, as a left back, you know where you're going. Like a center back, you know where you're going. Like there's no way that, like, it's just I understand getting caught up field, but it's like it's certain things, and this is where you listen to like Carragher's, all of everything Carragher's saying like lately is spot on. But there's one thing that Ole or that Neville does talk about where not working hard enough. Like there's just certain things where at the back some of these players are just making dumb decisions. Like Bissaka should not have been anywhere that high up. Like you just know that, especially you need to know where your center midfielders are. And like, it doesn't matter if the tactic is telling you something. If you're going out, if you're a player and you're playing like a robot, as if, like coach said that, McTominay is supposed to be here. It's like, you have to actually put your head on a swivel and look at where your other players are. And they're not even doing that. So like there is an aspect of like, these players are freaking idiots sometimes. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And yes, maybe that does come down to the coaching and not drilling it into their heads enough. But like some of these things are just idiotic, and you just don't do, like, as a professional player. Like making these mistakes are just baffling. You wouldn't even see like that defending was like French League 2 defending. It was awful.
No, that was like the US. Yeah. That was like the US and New Zealand.
Yeah.
The Matador, yeah. The Matador defense. Just have at it.
Oh yeah, like what do you?
Ole.
Ole, literally Ole. No, but it's just.
I don't. So enough. Yeah, But the good news is that the Glazers have put in a bid for one of the two.
Got rejected. He got rejected today.
For what?
Lost. The Indian
Premier League
cricket.
Yeah, I figured they were going. I figured they were going.
A lot of money. There's a lot of money. It's like $250 million for one of them. It was insane.
You know what though? It's funny because it's like $250 million, but when you think about it, it's $250 million for a league that only goes on for about 8 weeks.
That's
insane.
That's crazy.
It's $250 million for a league that only exists for about 2 months. It's not like $250 million. That's the amount of revenue that floats around in that thing. We knew the Glazers weren't going to get it. I didn't know that the bids got accepted. I think I know where they went, but I knew the bid. Just the fact that they had the, I don't know, the audacity to consider purchasing another team when they have done so well with the one that they have. So, yeah. Let's talk about other disappointments. What's going on with DC United?
Oh man, that was bad. Why do we have to just run anything United related? Yeah, that was so bad too. And the worst thing
up today, Matt.
First thing I checked too, I was like, there's no way Bill was in that. I check. Bill's between the sticks. And it's like, oh man, like it's just not, it just has not been a good week. Caps lost in overtime twice. It's just not in the world of Matt.
Okay,
well, the Giants won though. Giants won. There we go.
But actually, the Caps losing twice in overtime isn't a bad thing, because doesn't that keep their point streak alive?
Point.
Yeah. You get the point, and I'd rather get the 1 point than none. So
absolutely. No, absolutely. No,
I'll take the I'll take the overtime loss any day of the week and twice on Sunday, because all it is with the Caps is how many points can you get?
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game. But yeah, no, just if I can just switch back to United just at the end here, it's just I just wanted to question, do you think that Ole is going to be there for the Spurs game? And do you think even regardless of the result, he'll be there afterwards, if you think he makes it back?
I do not think that he is as tenuous as we, the fans, think and would want him to be. I do believe that he has reached his ceiling. I do believe that it is time to move on. I do not believe that he is in as much danger as we think. A couple of reasons. Number one, Ed Woodward nor any representative of the Glazers was in the stadium for this match. I find it hard to believe that your CEO and nobody from ownership could figure out how to schedule going to a game and sitting in the owner's box when it is probably the biggest single fixture, home versus Liverpool, biggest single league fixture that you have each year, and you didn't think to show up. And it tells me the apathy that they have for the actual on-field product, as long as the commercial product keeps taking over. Ole is a good yes man. He's not going to he's not going to say anything bad. He's not going to embarrass the club off the field. You're not getting to Jose. You're not getting to all that stuff, right? He's going to keep up with the company line. He looks good in a suit. He gives a good press conference. He gives all the standard corporate answers, right?
Yeah.
So right now, we are not in a situation where we have failed to qualify for the Champions League.
This is so depressing. Yeah.
And the corporate revenue, despite the fact that COVID continues to turn over, I think that as United fans, we need to adjust our expectations for the club, because if ownership really does not care, then what can we expect?
But like, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like they're coming off the whole riot thing. They're trying to quote unquote be more in touch with the fans. Like,
they signed Ronaldo. That's all they're going to do.
Yeah.
They do not. They genuinely do not. I do not think that they care enough about the product to have any idea of burning down a system that they just put in place. And you look at what are the qualifications that the people who are currently in the United hierarchy, what qualifications do they have?
Yeah, I mean, they're all bank. I mean, if you're talking about like Woodwards and all that, I mean, they're all bankers. They all just come financial.
Okay, so Woodward was a banker who helped them with the takeover, right? And then negotiated all their commercial deals. All the people under him are guys that he went to University of Bristol with. University of Bristol, the hotbed of football executives. All the people on the player personnel side are guys that have been there for a while or ex-Man United players. It's an echo chamber. And they've created the echo chamber that they want, which is why I don't think that Ole is going to get fired, is because I don't think that there is enough decisiveness collectively anywhere in Carrington or Old Trafford to make the decision to actually get rid of him and get the guy that you need to get in. I love Conte to death. I think that he is a decent manager, and if he comes in on an 18-month contract, maybe I'll abide. But I don't think that's the right guy.
Yeah.
I
told you my fears. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we're going to start the cycle again for the sake of doing it, because nobody there has any idea about it or care, right? I don't think it's that they don't have any idea, because if you don't have any idea, you recognize it after a certain amount of time, and you go and find somebody who does. And if you can't find somebody who does, you replace them with somebody who you think does, right? Say one thing about Roman Abramovich and his thirst for titles. If you're not delivering what he thinks you should be, he will replace you with somebody he trusts or he thinks can, right? City have gone out and looked and searched and scoured and interviewed and paid to get the best people that they can at each position in the front office, and look where they all are. That is why City and Chelsea have probably been the two best teams over the course since Sir Alex left. When Liverpool had the opportunity to get a manager, they went out and they got the best person available. Mm-hmm. United have never displayed that ambition.
Yeah.
So I think it is less about, think of us more like Arsenal than Manchester of old, where, you know, the only reason why they got rid of Unai Emery was because it just got too bad.
Well, yeah, they weren't making Champions League. So they weren't making Champions League. Like, I think that is the financial difference. Like, and I know that Arsenal's not in Europe anymore, but like they feel that, I think most of the fans still are hoping that this project with Arteta works out. But again, that could just be,
but we have to hope it works out. I mean, they spent 200 million. They have to hope it works out. I mean, I don't want to say too much about the club because I know that's not what we're talking about right now. But
no, but I mean, go on, you're fine. But I think that I need to look at Manchester United more like Arsenal than City. We are not competing with City. We're not competing with Liverpool. We're not competing with Chelsea. You know, pretty soon we may not even be competing with Newcastle.
Yeah. Go ahead. I don't want to take Stead. I want to hear what Stead has to say.
So no, I don't have anything important to say.
Our ambition is just
all I'm saying is this: it's still though. I mean, Chelsea Mike. I know he's about to come on, but I think he said it best. It's like you get two good results, and then you're right back to kind of rolling through this whole spiral of, is this team going to be successful or not again? And but you know, but it's the expectation of the club. I think let's say if Arsenal happens to finish in the top 4 this year, it'll be a coup. And I think Arsenal fans will be extraordinarily surprised if that even happens. But to say, due to the preseason and due to the way Manchester United has finished the last couple of years, the expectation is that Manchester United should not be finishing outside of the top 4. You can say what you want about the other clubs. It was pretty obvious, though, that it was going to be Chelsea, Liverpool, City, and Manchester United would be the top 4 teams. And it was basically the competition would be for that Europa League spot between, you know, and I'll say it, I think at the beginning of the year, West Ham was the competition for that Europa League spot. Spurs, at the beginning of the year, you know, Arsenal was in contention for that Europa League spot. And now they still are, because you look at the logjam of 14 points from teams that are, there's only 3 points separating 15th or 5th and 12th. So to say Arsenal's out of it now is not, you can't say that anymore. So the fact that Manchester United is in that chunk when their expectations and their recent results in the previous years have had them outside of that chunk is probably the more striking and disappointing thing, as opposed to the fact that they're there. It's the fact that they weren't supposed to be there. You don't sign Ronaldo and then compete for 5th place. You don't do that.
Also, the fact that we, like, the amount that we spend, like, people, I will say that the Glazers are not invested in the team like they are, you know, the Buccaneers or whoever, whatever else they own. But at the end of the day, like, we're right up there with amounts spent. Now, is that money spent wisely? No, it's not. It's not spent well. But at the same time, like, we are spending, you know, $300 million, you know, almost every transfer window. And it's absurd, the fact that that's why I guess I'm so surprised with well, as long as the commercial revenue keeps coming in, and it's like, yeah, but like, we're spending so much like on players, and those players are expected to be like,
well, I think that we have to, that's where I come in, though. I just think that they may surprise me and say, you know, no, this is not good enough. We demand a trophy. There's been no indication from the boardroom that there is that sort of thirst to win a trophy, right? You know, the Ronaldo transfer is what the Ronaldo transfer is, but think about how many Ronaldo 7 jerseys have been sold since Ronaldo re-signed for Manchester United and will be sold over the coming season, right?
Yeah.
You've got to feel like you will recoup a significant portion of that outlay back just on the merchandising revenue that he brings in. But that's Ronaldo, right? And that's why that transfer is unique in that sense. You know, Rafa Varane is a different story. I mean, I can't say, you know, that's the one that where it's like, you know, Rafa Varane, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, right? They definitely have you can't complain that they haven't backed the manager by going out and spending. But then if I'm bringing players in, I expect them to be able to play. And I can see that these guys can go other places and play.
Mm-hmm.
Like Harry Maguire didn't suddenly forget how to play defense. Luke Shaw didn't suddenly go from an all tournament left back in the Euros to looking like Bullwinkle chasing around Rocky.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Alexis Sanchez, that's a different story. We can go with that. But like, I don't, some of these players are good players with talent who we know can play. Why aren't they able to play? Probably because they're not being put in a position where they can be successful, right? So we'll see where we end up next week. But, you know, my expectations are so low that, you know, I have none. Like, I'm going out to watch the game next Saturday because I previously scheduled it, but I'm not going to I'm going to treat them like I treat the Eagles right now. I'm not like dedicating my time and my intensity to following a team that apparently does not care about how I'm not going to put more effort into supporting them than they are going to put into actually playing the game. Right. So no more dedicating my weekends. If they don't care, why should I? Right. I'll still be a fan, but I'm just not going to I'm not going to let that dictate my weekends or my midweeks anymore. Right. It's not going to, I'm not going to get as emotionally invested, but we'll have you back next week, my good friend, to talk more about the,
get some sleep, Matt.
About the game and to do an MLS preview of the playoffs as the MLS season. I know you're super excited for that. Good talking to you as always. Go get some sleep. We turn from one direction, going down the table, to another team that looks like they're, you know, just chugging right along. Mike, Chelsea does what Chelsea does. So on to the lower leagues. How does it look?
Well, no, I mean, while we're talking about lower league sides, let me take a minute to just complain about Norwich, right? You know, I've said on this program before that Norwich's goal in English football is to be the 21st best team. And honestly, when you look at the top of the championship, do I think that Bournemouth could beat them right now? Yes. Do I think that West Brom could beat them right now? Yes. Do I think that Fulham could beat them right now? Yes. Like Norwich, I had faith in them coming back up. They actually spent some of the money they got selling Emi Buendia, who was the player of the year in the championship last year, and put it into players. You know, they got Josh Sargent, they got Rashica, both from Werder Bremen. I had hopes that Norwich would be a more competitive team this year than they were, but they're not. And it's terrible. It's terrible to have to watch. Norwich, you know Chelsea's posture, right? Chelsea wants to win a game 1-0, 2-0. That's what they're looking to do. For some reason, whenever Chelsea got the ball, Norwich retreated. And I mean, they had they had both Sargent and Pookie back like 30 yards from their own goal. And it's like, what is the aim of that? Because there were opportunities, and the way if you're a worse team and you've got two frontline forwards, I mean, well, okay, you pack your 8 in back, and then you've got your 2 up by the midline. Well, they weren't even playing that. They had opportunities to like kind of dump and chase, and they just didn't take it. And I mean, I don't know what it is about Norwich that they just seem to be just absolutely dominant in the championship, and then they come up and they're a complete and total embarrassment. But that was an embarrassing game for them the other day. And I've got to say, Mike, that it does feel a lot better to be on the correct side of a lopsided score.
Yeah, I believe me, I know. I've been on the correct side. I've been on the right side of them, but
when?
Well, hold on a second, Mike. But Mike,
no,
let me
because
just piggyback.
I'm not in the mood to throw shade at anybody for being on the right side of them. But go ahead, Stead.
I say no. I had much better hopes for Norwich this year, but this is absolutely embarrassing. Sell Max Aarons, sell Todd Cantwell. They don't need to be on that squad, and it's ridiculous because they lost 7-0. I think 5 of those goals were scored before the red card even happened. They have 2 points, and they got 2, and that's based on 2 draws they got in 2 of their last 3 games. So I thought they were finally coming into form. They're down 21 goals. They've scored 2 goals all season long. Like, what are you doing? This has Derby written all over it. The fact that you can't even be competitive against teams that are struggling to stay alive. The Leeds and Southamptons who's struggling right now, but will most likely. I mean, the fact that I would love to be a Premier League team right now. This is the season of struggle because there's only 2 relegation spots. There's only 2. You already know Norwich is done, and it's sad. It's sad, and it is frustrating to the point. That was a team too that I watched a lot, and I don't know why. Maybe I like yellow jerseys, or maybe because they bounce back and forth. I thought maybe they would finally do something, or because Norwich always would do this. They would always win a few games early in the year to make you think they actually cared. And the fact that didn't happen at all this year is a shame. And you're looking at, Josh Sargent said, I mean, I'm sure it's, yes, if you can get a Premier League move, I guess you take it. But I mean, come on.
I guess but we've said it, like, for a squad like Norwich, that may be their model. Take advantage of the parachute and the return payments. Invest what you can.
But I think that's clearly what they're doing, though. That's what they're doing. Because nothing else makes sense. Nothing else. They've scored 2. They have a negative 21 goal differential 9 games into the season.
So what they did was
unbelievable.
What they clearly did was make sure, first and foremost, they bought players that they could. Maybe they bought players with an eye towards competing next year again in the championship. They'll sell the likes of Max Aarons because he's not going to want to play in the championship. I could see Josh Sargent staying.
I could too.
Go down and then try and come back up. Like you said, the 21st team in football. If you know that you're not going to be able to make the outlay to stick and stay for 3, 4, 5 years to the point where it actually starts to become profitable to run in the Premier League, why not be the yo-yo?
But the thing is, though,
I would cash in my season tickets, and I would only buy them when they were in the championship.
Yeah,
I think the thing is, though, that the guys who cash in their season tickets, when they, I'm going to buy them this year because they're in the Premier League. I'm not going to when they go down to the championship. Guess what, buddy? When it comes to getting Premier League tickets again, you've moved to the back of the line.
I'd keep them for a championship.
I mean, there's other flaws in that model too. I mean, Max Aarons, Todd Cantwell they're clearly Premier League players, and you can only hold on to them for so long. I mean, we talk about the success of Brentford, right? Well, they when they didn't make the Premier League, they lost. They lost 2/3 of their BMW front line that was dominating the championship. But they're going to lose Aarons and Cantwell. And what is there? I mean, yes, Timo Pukki, there's just some guys like Mitrovic, Fulham, who they killed a championship. And Timo Pukki is one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
He just goes down there and he is in goal scoring art form when he's in the championship.
He's a championship level player,
Mm-hmm.
right?
He's also
Yeah.
like 32. Like he's also getting up there.
Yeah.
He's getting up there in age. But like, what's his name? Will Grigg from Northern Ireland. He's like a League One player. He's not a champion. They tried to bring him up to the championship. Didn't work. He's a League One player. Dom Solanke didn't work with him when he was in the Premier League. Seems to be working with him down in the championship. Some players are championship caliber players, right?
Yeah,
There's
so
nothing
many
wrong with
kids.
it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like you get a job, you get a paycheck, right?
It's just the thing though, is that if your whole thing is that we're going to get up, we're going to take the money, then we're going to bounce down and then bounce right back up. Well, eventually that up doesn't go. And then, then you're in a world of hurt.
But that's when you get punished, right? That's when you get punished. And you can do that as long as you can get back up in the first year or two. But if you don't make it up before the first year or two, because remember, those parachute payments decrease exponentially every year that you're out. And I think they only last for like 2 or 3 years, 3 years maybe. If you don't make it back up, that's when it becomes, okay, you may not make it back up for a while. Norwich, we've seen do it a lot lately. But remember, what is it, like 10, 12 years ago, Watford was doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen these clubs that get to that yo-yo phase. I think Sunderland went through it for a while where they go down and then bounce right back up, then go down, come up. Then they just went down and went down again. Didn't Newcastle get relegated twice in like 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's always going to be a lot of churn between the 15th and the 25th best team in the league. Like they'll find different spots, and this year you get a Brentford who sort of wriggled their way into somebody else's spot, right? And they beat Swansea in the final of the playoff. Swansea's a team that's been up recently
and been back down, and then bounce back up, and then bounce back down. Like, you're right. Sometimes you are that 21st best team in English football, which means you're gonna yo-yo for a little bit, and you've either got to decide to press on.
But you got to feel like, though, the Watfords and the Swanseas of the world, when they did come up, they may have yo-yoed back and forth, but they didn't seem to be resigned to the fact that that was their fate in September. And it just seems like Norwich does that.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, look, you've got your golden opportunity.
That's what they're doing, like this year. Yeah,
you've got your golden opportunity, right? 2-3 years up. I mean, could you imagine what that would do to versus bouncing in between the championship, the financial stability there? But Norwich sold their best player before the year. It wasn't even like we're going to go out to December and see how it's going, and then try to steal what we can. No, they sold their best guy on coming up. Why not give it a go? And I mean, that's the rest of us. I mean, sure, it's nice having a week off. It's nice having Mason Mount take a game ball home. It's nice, what's
gonna suck when you're the team that loses to them.
Hey,
no, I mean,
whenever you get out of it. Hey,
remember when United lost to Sheffield? When United, and it was like you didn't want to be the team that actually lost to them.
Hey,
I am a little bit surprised as how David Wagner. Like, I think the fact that David Wagner had the job, kept the job, still has the job, is what backs up your argument about them having that ambition to just stick and stay in the championship, because he's a manager who has proven that he can compete at the upper levels of the championship. But when it gets into the Premier League, It's not working. Or not David White. It's not David White. What's the manager's name at
Fark?
Farka?
Yeah, Farka.
Daniel
David
Farka.
Yeah.
He got that miraculous win against City 2-3 years ago. And then since then, it has just been nothing. And that's the one where I'm like, okay, you know what the end product is. And this is, I guess, a lot of the problems that I have with so many things in football, from our manager to their manager, is you know what the end product is. You have seen this play before. You know what the script is. You know how it's going to go. What exactly do you expect is going to be different this time around?
I'll tell you what. It was them bringing in Rashica. It was them bringing in Sargent. It was them getting in Ben Gibson from Burnley. Giannoulias. They brought in guys who looked like they were going to play now, and looked like they were good enough to do it. Right.
So you're 9 games into the season. You're winless. Now, are they? Is it a situation where there's just literally nobody else out there to take that?
Wait, say that again, because
is it literally you can't get rid of him because who, like you said, Stead, there's 2 relegation spots. You know they're going down. Is there anybody who wants to attach their name to this project and say, who's really thinking like I can go in there and keep them up? If we feel like Norwich themselves doesn't even want to stay up.
I mean, you know the name.
No, but I mean, like even Big Sam, who is known, Sam Allardyce is known for doing this, right? This is what he does. And Steve Bruce is another one who has a reputation for doing this and may soon be out of a job at Newcastle, right? Could you pay them enough to actually go in and do that? Or might they even be like, nah, I know I'm a relegation specialist, but the teams that I've managed when I've gotten them out of relegation scraps have been ones that have demonstrated to me that they actually want to try. And I'm not 100% sure that you guys do.
I mean, you can't, no, I don't, they're not, I don't think they're bringing in, a new manager.
So if you're not bringing in a new manager and you're keeping Fart, isn't that just further evidence of the fact that they just don't care that much?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it? It's not that they don't. It's not that they don't care. It's just that being in the Premier League is like a secondary bonus. It's more like they like the Premier League check and hate having to play against the world's most elite talent. I mean, it almost seems like a bother to them because it's not the first time. It's happened the last 2 times that they come up and they bounce down. And then they go on and they win the league down in the championship, which just
relatively easily too. That's the funny thing. Then I get bumped
like
back up in playoffs. They were basically solidified as winning the championship last year, several weeks before. I mean, there was no drama around who was coming up last year. I'll put it that way.
But we've all seen this before. We've seen clubs do this. We know that it works until it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And that at some point in time, what's probably likely to happen more so than anything else is that they're going to go down to the championship and expect a quick return. And it's just not going to happen for them.
I mean, that's when they start looking to a new manager. That's when they, they're looking around championship level managers. But it's a shame because it's hard to watch, and you see teams like Brentford who've had success, and even Watford to some extent have coming up.
Ismail Assar is playing.
Ismail Assar is. He single-handedly.
I'm surprised he's still on the squad. I thought he was going to get sold over the summer. I really did.
I don't think that they got the price that they wanted for him.
Yeah,
and
but
COVID made.
That's the difference, though, right? That's the difference between Watford and Norwich. Norwich right now. Norwich had an exceptional player who won all the awards last year in the championship and they sold him. They've kept Sarr. They could have sold Sarr last year before they played in the championship, and they kept him for playing again, and they're on 10 points and doing okay right now.
But you have both said it when you point to Brentford, who have struggled for so long to get up to this level. All right, we're not playing around when we're up here. Watford, when they went down, we were all surprised that they went down. That was not a team. They did the yo-yo.
They were not. They were not as bad as their points said they were. They were not. Yeah.
And they did the yo-yo thing. They went down, they came back up, they went down, they came back up, they went down, and then they stayed down for a while, and then they came up, and they're like, no, we're actually going to have a go for it, right?
I mean, they ended Liverpool's unbeaten streak that year that they went down.
That was a team that was really having to go of it from the start. They were not confident of, they wanted to at least stay another season. They were trying, right? Now that they're back up, they're like, okay, we think that we didn't get it 100% right last time. We're going to try and get it right this time. We have little to no evidence from Norwich that they feel the same way, which is what you all have been saying, that, hey, we're comfortable with our current lot in life. And if we go down, fine. I think that if I was looking at it, and I was the owners of Norwich, and I was saying, okay, we just got house 7-0. We've had 2 points. We've scored 2 goals. We've shipped 21. It is clear that something here is not working. And it is necessary that if we really want to even have a shot to stay in the Premier League, then we've got to make a move now and get somebody in who is equipped to deal with this.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, they look scared out there against Chelsea. And that's, I mean, like when you've got all 10 of your outfield players within 30 yards of goal, it says like, we're scared. And they're playing scared, and they look scared, and they just don't look good.
So before we go, and we've got to wrap up soon, give us an update on what's going on in leagues. We talked about one possibly soon to be champions ship team. Give us an update on what's actually going down in teams that are currently playing in leagues 1, 2, and the championship.
Well, only a few minutes left, so I'll be very brief. Same leaders as last week: Bournemouth, Plymouth Argyle, Forest Green in your championship, League 1 and 2. Although, of course, in your League 1, Wigan and Sunderland both have 2 games in hand and are only 2 points off the lead there. This Saturday, if you don't want to watch the Arsenal game at 7:30, and why would you? Sorry, Stead.
Say what you want, man. One of the best teams out of the last 6 matches. Say what you want.
West Brom and Fulham are playing at 7:30 on ESPN. That's number 2 versus number 3 in the championship. The winner will be in the spot for automatic promotion, and obviously a draw. West Brom are 2 points ahead of Fulham, who have looked better of late in their quest to get back to the Premier League. Some interesting games this week as Coventry and Luton Town are hanging around in the playoff races, where, again, we were talking about it, the punishment of not making it back up. Swansea were in the playoff final last year with the spot of the Premiership on the line, and they lost. This year they're in 15th. So like, the opportunities, when you get them, you got to take them. It's not just Swansea. Lincoln City, same thing, lost in League 1 in the playoff final last year. They're in 15th again. You don't always get those chances.
Sunderland had a bad loss.
That's why
that was a bad loss. 1-0 to Charlton, who's getting relegated out of League 1. That was a bad loss. Sunderland can't lose those games.
No, 1-0. Not good, but well, it's League 1 and everybody loses game.
Yeah, but come on. It's
No, I
Sunderland.
know.
It's
I know.
Sunderland. You should come on, man.
Charlton Athletic, by the way, my favorite logo of all time. Just red and black, an arm holding a sword. I swear to God, I'm not a fascist, but like, it's simple. It's like very, it's very aggressive.
Yes, it was a great logo when it was in the Premier League for that year or two.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been seen since. All right, Mike, thanks a lot. We'll get you back at the end of the show next week to talk a little bit more lower league. And we'll have to get you on a little bit earlier because it is the end of the season and the Philadelphia Union, who have been stalking second place with a win over Nashville on the weekend, finally claimed second spot in the Eastern Conference. But instead, I don't know if you've seen it. New England Revolution are on pace to set a record.
I did.
Yeah, they need 3 points from their last 2 games.
Yeah.
Bruce Arena once again proves that he may not be able to manage many places, but he doggone sure can win in MLS.
Absolutely.
Just like you guys said, there are certain players that are equipped to play in certain leagues. The one thing that he knows how to do is win in the MLS. Well, gentlemen, it has been fun. I want to thank Los and Gato for joining us, talking a little La Liga. Byron Robb for giving us the update from the Bundesliga. Celtic Cam for joining us and talking about the land of enchantment that is Scotland. Matt, who's probably in bed right now, giving us his take on Ole, and Chelsea Mike for having a go at Norwich and the lower leagues.
Hey, speaking of lower league football, Chelsea Newcastle this weekend.
Russians versus the Arabs. What is the over under on costumes in that game? And of course, as always, my thanks to producer Stead for keeping everything running on time. We had some good conversation about rugby. Wake up and see early. If you're up early tomorrow and you want to have a go at it, Pakistan is in action in the T20 World Cup, and West Indies are going to try and get back at it and see if they can actually do something like put the bat on the ball and, something that they didn't do on Saturday. Yep. Should be a fun one. Those games are at 6 and 10 on ESPN Plus. Before I go, Stead, I do want to grouse about something I noticed on Sunday evening. ESPN2, we complain about the lack of coherent soccer games, even replays of things that would be like good sports for them to broadcast. I don't know, like the T20 World Cup, or put a rebroadcast of El Clasico. They literally had professional tag.
I've seen that before.
Was it the Ocho? They weren't doing the Ocho?
No, this was serious because I was watching a series of reruns of 30 for 30, which I like. I forget. This was
Catholics versus Convicts
was the last one that I watched while I was up late on Sunday night, and then they put on professional tag.
It could have been worse. It could have been the Balloon World Cup.
Listen, the professional tag, what that is too, those are all the same guys who they were riding the wave of the parkour revolution. So they couldn't really get on TV anymore with parkour. So they just turned it into a game of tag, and it's the same dudes.
So I was looking up the professional parkour and tag, and the only thing that came across was apparently there is a one of them from Latvia that just married a porn star.
Of course.
That was the only thing that came across my wire.
And that's the news that we need.
What kind of wire do you have? What is your wire? What's it set to? Latvia porn star?
No, an American porn star. He married an American porn star. He's a Latvian parkour and a professional tag player.
All right.
Well.
We're still recording, by the way.
You, as I like to say, you can't make that up. All right, gentlemen, it has been real. Thanks once again to all of you. We did all right this week. We'll do better next week. For producer Stead, Byron, Rob, Chelsea, Mike, Coach Matt, Celtic Cam, Los and Gato. I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. Have a good week.